USCS Grant, 1869 to 1877. If Grant was a war hero, it's no news to read Grant. But did you know he smoked 20 cigars a day? Here is something that we can all attest. For speeding in his carriage, he was put under arrest. After the police officer recognized Grant after stopping him for speeding, he wanted to let him go, but Grant insisted to do his duty and arrest him.
Rutherford B. Hayes, 1877-1881. Though he won the election by just one election vote, he brought reform to the White House, something we should know. And he also was the first one to buy the White House phone. You know who he called? Alexander Graham Bell. Rutherford B. Hayes talked to Alexander Graham Bell from over 1,300 miles away. His first words were, "Please speak a little more slowly." The term of Garfield was tragically short, only half a year we must report. Still, in that time, Garfield performed some good. Against the spoil system, he firmly stood. And we're not saying this just to rhyme. He could write with both hands at the very same time. It was said that James A. Garfield could write with both hands at the same time. He could write Greek in one hand while writing Latin in the other.
Wow.
Chester Arthur, 1881 to 1885. Elegant Arthur was a term used for him. In his stature, he was both tall and trim. He always wore gloves and a buttonhole flower. Reporters wrote that he owned 80 trousers and 25 coats. He would not move into the White House until it was completely refurnished. 24 wagon loads of White House belongings were sold at a public auction.
Grover Cleveland. Cleveland's wife was 28 years younger than he. She was a charming and beloved First Lady. And we'll share with you another truth. A candy bar was named for their child, Baby Ruth. Cleveland was the first president to serve two separate terms and to use fireworks at his inauguration. Benjamin Harrison, 1889 to 1893. His grandfather was also a White House president, so the mansion wasn't so strange to this 23rd president. Still, even when 11 Harrisons moved in with the troop, there was only one bathroom for the whole entire group. Electric lights were installed in the White House when Benjamin Harrison was president. The whole entire family went to bed with all the lights on because they were afraid to touch the switches. William McKinley, 1897 to 1901. William McKinley, as president, was a pretty good fellow. His wife, Ida, absolutely hated the color yellow. When flowers abounded the White House lawn, not a yellow one among them could be found. William McKinley loved to smoke cigars, but never wanted to be photographed with one because it set a bad example for children. He always wore a lucky red carnation on his coat. You know that for hunting, Teddy Roosevelt was famed, but did you know that for him the teddy bear was named? And there was something also very true. He was the youngest president at only 42. Although John Kennedy was the youngest man elected, because of McKinley's death, President Teddy Roosevelt was the youngest to become president. William Howard Taft, 1909 to 1913. William Taft was not your average guy. He was over 300 pounds in size. We don't have to tell you he ran out of luck when one day in the White House tub, he got stuck. A special bathtub was made large enough for 4 men for President Taft after he got stuck and was helped out. Woodrow Wilson, 1913 to 1921. That Wilson president was president during World War One, we can affirm, and that he suffered a stroke during the end of his term. He was pretty bright, we think you will agree. He was the first president to have a PhD. During World War One, there was a shortage of workers. President Wilson used a flock of sheep to trim the White House lawn. One of the sheep, named Old Ike, chewed tobacco. Warren G. Harding, 1921 to 1923. You probably know the scandal called Teapot Dome. That happened when Harding called the White House his home. But maybe you'd like another fact to know. Harding was the first president for whom women could vote. And another thing that might seem unreal, he was the first to drive to inauguration in an automobile. President Harding's dog, Laddie Boy, delivered the newspaper each day. Delivered the president's newspaper each day. A special cake was served at Laddie Boy's birthday party. Many layers of dog biscuits topped with frosting. Calvin Coolidge, 1923 to 1929. Calvin Coolidge was a fairly popular man who held a very thrifty clan. Calvin Coolidge was so stingy that we have to admit the White House cook finally let him quit. Calvin Coolidge was so stingy that the cook quit when he could not convince Coolidge it would take 6 hams to feed 60 people coming to the White House dinner. Herbert Hoover, 1929 to 1933. The people at the time got the mistaken impression that Hoover was to blame for the Great Depression. Yet historians say over and over again that the Times were right for what happened back then. It is interesting that as White House resident, Herbert Hoover never took his salary as president. Franklin D. Roosevelt, 1933 to 1945. Franklin Roosevelt served longer than any man, 12 years as president of our great land. Handicap notwithstanding, he did just fine, although paralyzed by polio at the age of 39. Not being able to walk didn't stop President Roosevelt. He traveled more than any other president and was the first president to fly in an airplane. Harry S. Truman, 1945 to 1953. The White House started sinking when Truman was there. The first family moved to a state house called Blair. And there's something else we bet you never guessed. The whole of Truman's middle name was S. When the Truman family lived in the White House, it began to collapse. The floor in the president's study began to sway, the sitting room was sinking, and the chandelier trembled overhead. The family moved away while the repairs were being made. Kennedy wrote a book that won the Pulitzer Prize. Profiles of Courage is both witty and wise. And here's another thing you may not have heard. His White House had dogs, cats, ponies, and birds. John F. Kennedy's family had lots of pets while he lived in the White House. The president was allergic to animal fur. Dwight D. Eisenhower, 1953 to 1961. That he was a five-star general, we read in the books, and they built a White House kitchen just because he loved to cook. Because he loved to paint but couldn't draw tad, he just filled in and paint by number became a fad. President Eisenhower's hobby was painting, but because he wasn't able to draw, someone sketched the pictures for him to paint. Lyndon B. Johnson, 1963 to 1969. He was the second tallest president at 6'3", and LBJ were the initials of his whole family. And believe it or not, as a child he would say,